Okay, because we're talking about Clay and one of the best two-ways players. And with Michael, his dad, who's on with us right now, when you're playing offense and defense and you're really playing defense, most guys don't have the energy to play both ways.
Yeah.
And they'll try to play both ways. You have a good coach yelling at you, you try to play it. But Clay played it well and was a very good offensive player. Now, Michael, you can comment on this. And you got Luka. Yeah, oh my goodness, he's like a matador defense.
Yeah, that's always bothered me about Luka. Everybody talks about a great player is all NBA this, all NBA that, and he is a very gifted offensive player. But sometimes people say he's the best player in basketball. But I said, no, you cannot be the best basketball player or best player in the world or in the NBA. Makes you the best in the world, of course, unless you play both ends of the floor, unless you can impact the game on both ends. That's what makes you the best player in the game. That's what Jordan did. That's what Kobe did in prime. That's what Giannis did when he was MVP of the league. That's what Kevin Durant did. Great scorer, and Kevin Durant can lock you down. Obviously, LeBron James did it numerous times and made him a great all-around player. Kareem was like that. Your former teammate in his younger days, where he's a great defensive player as well as a dynamic offensive player. So unless you are a two-way player, where you can impact the game on both ends dramatically, then I don't consider you a great player. A very good player, a Hall of Famer, yes, but a great player has different levels to it. Now, for instance, everybody says that Jokic is the best player in the world, and I give Jokic credit. Obviously, he's wonderfully gifted offensively. We've never seen a center like him with all those gifts, but his defense has really improved. He's not going to block shots above the rim like Alonzo Mourning or like an Amari Stoudemire, those leapers. But he uses his length very intelligently now around the basket for Denver, and he's become a very effective defensive player. So now I can agree that he is the best all-around player in the game. And before I used to give the edge to Joel Embiid, because Embiid on defense could be a rim protector and a defensive stopper. But now Jokic is starting to be much better defensively, so that's what makes him the best player in the game now, because he impacts the game on both ends.
How about the Greek Freak?
Yep, the Greek Freak, of course, his offense could be a little spotty because he doesn't have the consistent outside shot of a Kevin Durant, but he finds ways to get to the basket, get to the line, and finds ways to score, even though his outside or his three-point shot is inconsistent. But you are defensively, man, he can guard 1 through 5, it seems like.
Yeah, I'm telling you. And so
especially 5 now, Kermit, because all the centers in the game can't score. It's only like 3 of them who are great scorers.
He's just as long as them, too, and strong.
Yeah. I was listening to television today, and they were saying that by Luka playing in the finals has hurt his image. What do you think about that, Mike? Because of the lack of defense and complaining to the refs every single play.
Yeah, he has hurt his image because people now see how he doesn't put any effort or any concentration or any focus on the defensive end. He just sort of stands around out there as a statue, and you can't do that against players like Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum and Derek White and Drew Holiday. These guys are too good of players for you to think you could just get away with not playing defense against a solid, balanced team like Boston. And he's been exposed. Yeah, he's still a good player, and I would take him on my team, but Jason Kidd has to be more demanding as a coach and demand that he at least try. We don't expect you to be Michael Cooper or to be T.R. Dunn, somebody, a defensive stopper or a lockdown defender like that. But at least you got to try and put forth the effort and try to keep guys in front of you as long as you can and not just give them a clear path to the basket every time they dribble around you too easily. So he's hurting his whole team. But I blame the coach. Well, he put the blame on the player, and you also put the blame on the coaching staff not to demand that he, number one, get in better shape and put more effort and pride in playing defense.
Yeah, he's only 25 years old, and you can tell that he has a lot of extra weight and he doesn't move his feet that well. But the problem is, Michael, what you were saying before, everybody stands around and watches when he has the ball.
Yeah.
And that's not good because you got to build up the confidence in your other players. And if they're not touching the ball and just playing defense, they don't relax. I mean, just when we played, if you hit 2-3 jumpers in a row, Michael, you're ready to go, right?
That's right. Exactly.
But if you don't ever touch the ball, it puts you in a funny position. I'm still nervous because again,
Yeah.
And so, but Kyrie, I think, they should, everybody stands around. Now, Kyrie blossoms when Luka goes out the game.
Yeah, because the ball's in his hand. And Kyrie's the best one-on-one player in the history of the game. I've said that many times. And you guys might think I'm crazy, but I've never seen a one-on-one player with his individual talents, all-around skills. He's better than Kobe, better than Jordan. He's better than Isaiah Thomas. You can name all the great one-on-one skill players. Kyrie's better than all of them because he's got the best handles in the history of the game, and he can score with either hand in traffic, and he's got a three-point shot, pull up mid-range. He can get to the basket on layups. Name somebody else who has a full offensive package as Kyrie Irving. Michael Jordan, was great as he was, his left hand wasn't as good as Kyrie's. Kobe, as great as he was, maybe he's the closest when it comes to a one-on-one because Kobe can kill you with his right and his left hand.
Yeah, nobody has. I have to agree with you. Nobody has the handles of Kyrie. I have never seen anybody have those kind of handles and can go inside, outside, left hand, shoot a jump shot. So he has a whole package, and I just think that he stands out there and waits for Luka to not be able to shoot. Then Luka says, "Oh, maybe I should pass it."
Yeah, they take turns, and sometimes it's worked when they can both score 30 and they're like sort of taking turns and getting Derek Jones and PJ Washington and Derek Gafford and those guys involved too. But it's a delicate balance. They got to figure out how to do it the way Joe Dumars and Isaiah Thomas figured it out in Detroit. Two excellent ball handlers and two guys who could score on their own and get their own buckets. Norm Nixon and Magic was like that with the Lakers too, and they figured it out. So Kyrie and Luka, they're still young. Kyrie's only 31, I believe. And the way he plays the game, he's got another 5 years of prime basketball left. And Luka at 25 is just getting started. So they got plenty of time to figure it out.
Well, my question is, will Jason Kidd, because the season's over. I mean, they might have one more game. I don't think they'll win because in their minds, the back of their minds, they're saying, God, we got to win 4 straight games, which is
so especially if Porzingis comes back. If he comes back tonight, which they speculating he could, and then they got no shot because they won that game without Porzingis, and Porzingis looks great since he's come back.
Yeah. I mean, but the thing is that they're a team. You see how they pass the ball, Michael? They pass the ball. They're unselfish. They cheer for each other. I mean, that's a team, and that's why they win. They play as a team.
They play good team defense too, especially led by Drew Holiday.
Yeah, Drew. Hey, you know something, Michael? I mean, we were talking about that the other day. Between you and Drew Holiday, who else has 3 sons that plays pro ball? That play all 3 different
Barrys. You had Drew Barry, Brent Barry, and John Barry. But Drew was in the league just for a little bit. And let's see. On baseball, you had the Alou brothers way back in the 60s and 70s.
And where are they from? Where are they from?
I think they were from the Dominican, I believe, Dominican Republic.
Okay.
I don't think they weren't Cuban, and I don't think they were Puerto Rican. They might have been from Dominican Republic. And so, but it's very rare to see 3 brothers. Of course, you got the Antetokounmpo brothers. They were in the league for a minute. You had Costas, who was with the Lakers, didn't play, but he was there. And of course, Thanasis is hanging out with Giannis in Milwaukee. I'm surprised that Giannis has 3 brothers who play basketball. He has so much power in Milwaukee. I'm surprised they're not all on the team. Giannis should tell Milwaukee, but sign all my brothers, or I'm out of here at free agency.
Well, you know something, Michael?
Well, there's so many more roster spots now.
Yes, you look at the roster. It's look like 20 people are on the list. It's probably a G League 2 people, whatever. I don't know. But, it's funny. I was telling Michael was back there, but I was even before Michael. We had 11 guys on the team because they were trying to save money. Then somebody got hurt. We couldn't even practice, so they went to 12 people. But, Michael, when we were playing, it was only 12, correct?
Yeah, 12 people on the squad. And, that was, things, the jobs were, there's a lot of competition for jobs back then. Plus, there was 22 teams as opposed to 30. So can you imagine the league was 22 teams now with 12 players? How many players would be out of a job? So I'm glad they expanded the teams, and of course, the rosters to give guys more opportunity to play.
Yeah, but people don't realize that what you're saying is true. But when you only had 14 teams, do you know how much talent would be on each team? Oh, my goodness. You could go deep all the way down. But, Michael, funny thing, even though your wife didn't come on today, we want to talk about how you did with 3 boys. How did they get to be professional athletes? And tell us about them growing up, because they knew you and Julie. Okay. We had Julie, and it came to the point where she was a great athlete. So tell us about your sons, because people want to hear about, gosh, how can I get my son or my daughter to be involved? Because they grew up with money. They were in an affluent neighborhood. Even though you were hiding in that big house that you were in all the time, reading this newspaper, Michael would be hiding from them all the time. Tell us about them, Michael, about their growing up.
Well, we're no different from any of the parents out there who have kids who want to get them involved in sports, but the kids have to want to do it. we didn't have to push them into sports. We enrolled them. Julie signed them up to all the little league and youth sports stuff, soccer, baseball, football, basketball, everything. And they really gravitated towards it. We didn't have to force them to play basketball or sports. Some kids just are not into it. Some kids would rather be into academics. Some kids would rather be into music or dance or something like that. You just, you never know, but you can. I would suggest you enroll your son or daughter into different sports and to see which one they would really get acclimated to or like the most. And then if they have a passion for it, if your kids have a passion for it and they want to go play, they want to go to practice and they enjoy playing, then encourage them and support them as much as you can, as much as you can afford to, and keep them having fun in sports and keep them involved in sports if that's what their kids have an interest in doing. You can't force it on them. The kids have to want to do it, because I wanted Clay to keep playing baseball in high school because he was like a great pitcher, but he didn't want to do it. He just wanted to concentrate on basketball. So he just quit the other sports. He could have been a great high school quarterback, but I told him, since you don't want to play college football, then don't play high school quarterback, because if you get hurt, it's going to ruin your chance to play basketball. So, but if you have kids out there, healthy kids, and they show an interest in a sport, just encourage them to and try to enroll them into all the sports and see which one they like the best.
What did Trace like? Did Trace like, that's one of his kids, if you people listening, he has three. He has Mychal, Clay, and Trace. Tell me, what was Trace always in baseball, or did he like all the other sports also?
Yeah, Trace did all the four sports: soccer, baseball, basketball, and football. He played them all the youth sports stuff, but baseball was his love. He fell in love with baseball. Ken Griffey was his idol growing up. Even at a 5-year-old, he knew who Ken Griffey was. And since he was 5 years old, all he wanted to do was be a baseball player. So that's something we didn't have to push him in. He was obsessed with baseball growing up.
What position did he play when he was in high school?
He only wanted to play center field. He could have pitched. He was a good pitcher. He could have been a good first baseman. But since Ken Griffey was a center fielder, that's all he wanted to be, was a center fielder.
Oh, my God. And he had Mychal. See, Mychal is his older son, if people are listening. And I saw Mychal play when they played Pepperdine. No, Loyola Marymount.
Yeah.
He had about 40 points or something like that. And Julie was at the game. We were talking when I went to see him play. And here's my thinking, Mychal. You tell me if I'm wrong. If Mychal had come after Clay, Mychal would have lasted in the league for 10 years. Because they would say, hey, well, he's going to be like Clay. We're going to keep this. We're going to make sure that. What do you think about that? If he had come after Clay, how much longer do you think Mike could have lasted in the league?
I don't know. That's a good question. I never thought of it that way. Mychal's problem when he got to the league was he was too unselfish. He always tried to play the right way. He played in the G League for a number of years, and he would always make the extra pass and would look to score. But Mychal always had. People think I'm crazy or I sound like I'm exaggerating when I say this, but I told Mychal this himself. He said, Mikey, he's 6'7", wing player. I said, you have the same skills as Grant Hill. You can handle the ball. You can shoot. You can create off the dribble. You can run. You can dunk on guys because he's a much better jumper, leaper than Clay was or is. I said, you got those Grant Hill skills, man, but you got to show it in the games so the scouts can see it. But he would just be too unselfish. He would turn down shots and make the extra pass. He would never get the ball back. I say, man, you got to shoot that ball or take the ball to the basket and dunk on somebody the way you do in the summer league. You ever heard of the Drew League, Kermit, down here in L.A.?
Yeah.
Michael would play the league and be dunking on people. And I would say, if you did that in games at Pepperdine or when you were with the Cavs for a few months, you'd still be in the league. But he just didn't have that aggressive, like Jimmy Butler type attitude where he's going to kill people. He always had the talent. Now, I've told him that he's always had the skill to be an NBA player, but he just didn't show his skills, his all-around skills often enough. And the scouts, and the G League, he played well. He won a G League title with the Santa Cruz Warriors, him and Seth Curry. And I always thought the Warriors should at least give him a 10-day contract, bring him up, see what he can do, and see if he can go from there. But the Warriors never bought him up. But Mychal always had NBA skills. He just didn't put them on display often enough.
Well, you know what? It's funny that you say that because my grandson, Trey's, my son's son, is not a bad player in high school. But I tell him all the time, I said, what are you special in? I said, you're a good high school player in the suburbs, which you know what I mean, Mychal, in the suburbs.
Yeah.
I said, but what are you really good in? I go watch him play. I said, you're a good player in high school, but how are you going to become a good player in college? I mean, what are you good in? I mean, For me, it was defense and rebounding, and I could sometimes put the ball in the hoop when I would tell you, Michael, I haven't had a shot that please give me the ball for a play. But the thing is that, he doesn't know how to define what he's good in. And whatever you're good in, go after it, I tell him. If you want to be a good ball handler, a shooter, but you're just average in everything, which is not bad for a high school player. But if you want to play the next level, what are you special in? Michael, for you had, really mostly all the skills. You could score, you could rebound, you could, you played defense. But then again, we were so structured when we played. It's a different world now, Michael. Because our plays, when our plays, T.O., you don't realize, we would get the ball right under the hoop for a layup. I mean, Jack Ramsey did wonderful plays for us. Michael, and what do you think of that?
Yeah, you're right. Your grandson, he needs to put him in, take him to the inner city, let him play with some tough kids. I think that'll bring more skills out of him. Maybe he's got it too easy in the suburbs playing against lesser competition. Put him against tougher competition, and maybe he'll realize I got to bring my level of game up because I know I can compete with these guys. I can do everything they can do, but I think that'll bring more aggressiveness out of him if you just put him in the inner city basketball a little bit more. Put him in some inner city leagues if there's anything around there like that. And that's what we did with our boys, because they grew up in the suburbs too, but they were hanging around in Northeast Portland around the brothers, and they tougher, as you know. And you're right about playing in the league now. Jack Ramsey and his plays, weak side action, pin downs, cutting, secondary options. You don't see that anymore in the league anymore. So you want to be a good all-around player, work on your all-around skills. But you're right, find what you're best at, whether if it's shooting, if it's passing, if it's playing defense. Specialize in that, because you can carve out a long career as a wing guy, because not everybody's going to be 7 feet, as being a great defensive stopper. Jared Vanderbilt has done that for the Lakers. He's made about $60 million, and he's not really he'll knock down the occasional jump shot, but he's not known as a scorer, but he's a defensive shutdown kind of player. Gary Payton Jr., a second, I should say, playing for the Warriors. Not known for a great shooter, but he's a great defensive player, and right now he's carved out a nice young career for himself for the Warriors. So you're right. Find what you're best at, work on that, emphasize that, display that the most, but also work on your other skills too.
I had a quick question for you. Back in the day when you were in that position coming out through high school, what kind of level of competition were you seeing?
Are you kidding me? I was in Liberty City, Miami. You know about Liberty City?
Yeah.
Well, Michael, you weren't there at first, though.
No. That's what I'm saying. You weren't there at first, but like, with that, what kind of adjustment did you have to make with that?
And as a junior, playing in Liberty City with some tough brothers down there, but that's the toughest ghetto, one of them the toughest ghettos in America. Everybody knows about Liberty City. A bunch of great football players came out of there, went to University of Miami during the 70s and 80s, during those eras when Miami was great. So I was in a tough neighborhood in Miami when I started playing high school basketball. That's when I really started as a junior and senior. And the competition down there was rough and tough. And you're gonna either make it or you don't. Plus, I always had the skills, and but I always knew that you don't have to turn into a fighter to make it, but you had to compete hard against those guys, because they were coming after you to test you.
As overcome a lot of the physicality that a lot of guys don't necessarily see in some of the leagues now.
Yeah, and the thing is, he's making a good point. Like I tell people, I grew up in D.C., and 10 of us made the NBA from that playground. Right. And they would threaten you all the time when you're young. You say, if you foul me again, I'm gonna shoot you. They would have all like that. But so when you got into college, well, you knew the referees were there. You ain't gonna worry about somebody going to get a gun or shoot you. You were used to being around that. Right. But a lot of kids that have never been around that are so intimidated when they get to the NBA. Yeah. The aggressive play. You have all the Charles Oakleys, all the other guys like that. We're going to really be very physical with you. And some people don't, they just can't make it because of that. And so what Michael is saying is good. But Michael, you always had a nice personality. So tell us about Minnesota, though. How did you go to Minnesota of all the places from Bahamas?
At the time, I was in Miami, Florida. So I graduated in 74. University of Miami at the time did not have a basketball team. They disbanded their basketball team after Rick Barry left. And so they didn't have a basketball program, because I would have stayed right there at the University of Miami. I know they would have recruited me if they had a team, and I wasn't looking to leave Florida or leave Miami, because I love living in Miami. It was close to the Bahamas, 30, 40 minutes away by plane. So I was very comfortable living in Florida. I love Miami, still my favorite city in America. And so I wanted to stay in Miami, but they didn't have a team. Florida State and Florida recruited me, but their gyms were about as big as our high school gym at the time. Got to remember, this is the mid 70s, early 70s, not like how it is now. So I looked at the little bandbox gyms. I said, I don't want to play in a small little gym the same size as basically my high school gym. So I turned down Florida and Florida State, and then and Xavier in New Orleans, they recruited me, but that was a small time program too. And three main colleges that recruited me out of Florida was University of Houston, Minnesota, and Wisconsin. And so I figured between those three, Houston was on the come up. They really weren't as good as they turned out to be with Akeem Olajuwon and Clyde Drexler. And Minnesota and the Big Ten at the time was the best conference in the country, along with the ACC and Pac-10, of course. So I figured, okay, I'll just go here in Minnesota. Cold, freezing. I didn't like the cold, but it was a good school, good program, and nice people up there. As they say, Minnesota nice. So that's why I chose Minnesota, because Florida had little small-time programs, and the University of Miami had disbanded their program. But if Miami had a team, I would have stayed right in Miami.
Well, how many guys from the Minnesota team made pro ball with you, Mychal?
Let's see, it was me, Kevin McHale, Ray Williams, and who else that I played with? Those three mostly. Flip Saunders was on my team, but of course he didn't make the league, but he was a longtime coach in the NBA. And also my partner from the Bahamas, Osborne Lockhart, got drafted by the 76ers, but he got beat out by Maurice Cheeks. Of course, now it's the Hall of Fame. And Osborne very well in camp. But like you say, Kermit, those were the days when you had 11 players. So it was hard to make teams back then. So Mo Cheeks beat out my teammate, Osborne Lockhart. So Osborne Lockhart, instead of pursuing an NBA career someplace else, he went to join the Harlem Globetrotters and play with the Globetrotters for 20 years.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah.
Quick question. You were the number 1 overall pick in 78. The Blazers had won in 77. Do you know the story on the drop off, or what put them in position to be able to get you at that point? Was it a Walton injury or something, or what happened that they were even able to get the top guy?
They had a previous trade that they did in the past. They had somebody's pick. I think it might have been Indiana. They had Indiana's pick. Yeah, they had Indiana's pick. And let's see, that's how they got to the number 1. It was at Indiana, and then they traded. Yeah, they traded Portland. Somehow ended up with the 3rd pick anyway, and traded up to the number 1 pick. They traded Johnny Davis and their pick to the Indiana Pacers for the number 1 pick. Johnny Davis at the time was coming off of a championship. He was a championship backcourt mate of Lionel Hollins. And so somehow they traded, and they made that trade, and Portland decided to pick me over some stiff named Larry Bird, who had one more year. So Portland, for some reason, didn't want to wait on Bird the way Red Auerbach says, we'll draft him and we'll wait on him for another year, because Bird had another year of eligibility at Indiana State. He decided to go back to finish his 5th year. So they drafted me that year, and that's how Portland had somebody's pick 3, and they traded Johnny Davis and the 3 pick to move up to 1 to get me.
They didn't have that coin flip situation that the 1 and 2 had to do, or was that maybe earlier than that? And they got the 1.
Yeah, not back in the coin flip. Let's see, did they have the coin flip? Because I think they did have the coin flip, because let me think.
There's the bottom 2 back then, right?
Yeah,
had to flip.
I remember the difference between Kareem and Neil. Neil Walk.
Phoenix and Milwaukee flipped for it, and
the coin flip, because I remember, that's right. But somebody won the coin flip. You're right about that, because I remember Portland had the coin flip when Akeem was coming out, and they lost that flip because they drafted Sam Bowie instead, because we were to get Akeem that year, even though I was the starting center. We were going to draft Akeem, which would have been fine by me. But of course, Michael Jordan went 3rd, so that's who we should have drafted. But nobody knew Jordan was going to be Jordan, not even James Worthy.
Do you know what, though? Now listen to this, though, Mychal. Now this is a true story. Ralph Sampson stayed with me in LA when he went to Pete No's big man's camp. And Ralph Sampson said to me, he says, Kermit, Michael Jordan's the best player I've ever played against or have ever seen. He says, and he told me that. So Mr. Weinberg asked me, and this is honest God's truth, Kermit, who do you think is the best player that we should pick? And I was sitting with Mr. Weinberg. I said, well, Ralph Sampson said Michael Jordan's the best player that he has ever seen or played against. And I told that to Mr. Weinberg, and you know what Mr. Weinberg said? We're going to draft him. I said, oh, I think that's a good move. I didn't, I know. And how did they get Sam Bowie? Come on. Why would they get Sam Bowie, Sam?
They
I
said
mean,
that you're right. I remember that story. You telling that story, and I remember Larry Weinberg was in favor of drafting Jordan. Also, you heard the story about Bobby Knight on Michael Jordan, right?
yes. But
How
tell the
Bobby,
story. Tell the
how
story.
Bobby, how Bobby Knight in 1984, when Michael Jordan was working out with the Olympic team, Bobby Knight was the coach, and Bobby Knight had the audacity to say that Michael Jordan is the greatest basketball player ever. Not just one of the greatest, the greatest ever. Is what he said when he saw Jordan as a collegiate coming out of college, working out. What about that foresight? I mean, at that time, Bobby Knight, of course, had seen Wilt, Russell, Kareem. He had seen them all. Probably coached against a bunch of them. And for him to say that, he told the Blazers, draft Michael Jordan, Stu Inman. And Stu Inman said, well, we need a center. We need a center to go against Kareem and the Lakers because they didn't think I was big enough. And so we got to get a center. Sam Bowie was a good player coming out of Kentucky now. Sam Bowie was no stiff. Sam
But
Bowie
he was hurt. He was hurt all the time.
Missed 2 years.
hurt. Sam had all the skills. He would have been a Hall of Famer if he could have stayed healthy. He could shoot. He could run the floor. He could block shots. He could shoot from distance, post up, pass. He could do it all. He would have been a great player. But of course, he wouldn't have ever justified being drafted over Jordan. But anyway, so Larry Weinberg wanted to draft Jordan, but Stu Inman and Jack Ramsey sort of insisted to Larry Weinberg, no, we have to have a center to compete against Kareem. And I just used to tell Magic and Michael Cooper and Byron Scott when I joined the Lakers, I said, fellas, if we would have drafted Jordan at the time, I think Magic and the boys had 3 championships. You guys wouldn't have 3 rings right now if you would have drafted Jordan. You might have won 1, but you wouldn't have had 3 because you guys are also a great team too. So obviously you got with Kareem and Worthy and everybody, Jamal Wilkes, Nixon, you guys probably would have won a ring or 2, but there's no way Magic would have 5. And I used to tell them, I said, and they used to get mad at me. They want to beat me up and chase me out of the locker room. I said, number two, we would have had the greatest backcourt in the history of the game. Clyde Drexler, Fat Lever, and Michael Jordan would have been way better than Byron Scott, Magic Johnson, and Michael Cooper. They used to get mad at me.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with that. Now, who would have fought? You would have been a starting forward, and who else? Because Luke was gone.
Yeah, you mean with the Blazers? If we would have drafted Jordan?
If you had stayed, I mean, with that team, would you have been the starting forward or the center?
If we would have drafted who, Jordan?
Yeah, Jordan.
Yeah, I would have started center. The starters would have been Jordan and it would have been Jordan and probably Fat Lever in the backcourt, and then Clyde Drexler small forward, me at center, and probably Kenny Carr at the big forward.
Yeah,
that would have been a heck of
Kenny was a mean guy. I grew up with Kenny in DC. He would try to hurt you. I don't know. Him and Lucas, they had some people up there. But Michael,
Fat Lever used to get triple doubles as a point guard.
Oh yeah. You know, I tell people the story about Maurice Lucas and T.O. The only reason I made the All-Star team that year is because Michael, I don't know, broke his leg doing something, and Maurice was hurt. So I tell the story. I said, so Maurice was getting healthy, and I was just starting forward. Michael, were you there that year? I don't know if you were playing that year, but Maurice came to practice and was beating up on everybody. Lord have mercy. It was dangerous, T.O. And so before the Chicago Bulls game, because I was starting forward, I go to Jack Ramsey. I said, Jack, let Maurice start. I'll come off the bench. That's okay. He said, well, you're playing well. I said, Jack, if you don't put Luke back in the starting lineup, we ain't gonna have nobody healthy anymore. Because he would be elbowing people in practice, hurting people because he wanted to get back. I said, I'll come off the bench. But then T.O. Tom Owens got hurt, and then all of a sudden they moved Luka to the starting center, and then they moved me back to the forward position. Because Luke, I love Luke, but he had a mentality like a heavyweight boxer. You played with him, Michael. He was tough.
Those were tough times back then. Back in those days, nobody was fronting or faking it. It was tough guys, and if you swung on people, it wasn't. All it was maybe a technical foul, and you wouldn't get suspended and lose $1 million in salary like you would now. You swing on somebody, you get suspended 4 or 5 games, even if you don't connect. And as much money as these guys can make, that could be $3-4 million in lost salary. So nobody's going to throw punches like they did 30, 40 years ago.
But, it was a different game, though. Everybody had such a tough guy. You go up there to Seattle, you had Lonnie Shelton. Then you had Paul Silas for a while. You go down to every city. You had Cliff Robbins. Cliff, who was the center? Clifford Ray. You
Ray,
had
yeah.
then you go to Phoenix. You had Truck Robinson. I mean, every team had a tough guy.
Yeah, you had to have enforcers
Well,
because of the level of physicality back
you
then.
don't even call him, and you have Maurice that but not only did you have Maurice, you had Bottom. What was Bottom's name? Lloyd Neal.
Lloyd Neal, yeah.
Lloyd Neal could play from what was he, Tennessee State or
Tough
Kentucky
guys.
State?
And what I like about that era, no flopping. Oh, the flopping today is ridiculous.
Everybody had a tough guy, but so Mychal came out there. Mychal was scoring all the points like that. Okay, Mychal. First of all, we were talking about CaitlinClark. Please tell us, what she is going to make money, and she's making money for everybody. I mean, because I watched the game. I have never watched a WNBA game, Mychal, till this year, and I've watched 4. And I try to tell people, because she's playing, we're seeing the other players that are some are very good. It's like Tiger Woods. I never watched golf in my life until you start going, and then all of a sudden I knew all the other golfers. Mychal, what do you think is going to be the future of the WNBA because of Caitlin?
Well, unfortunately, jealousy and envy is taking over the league. A lot of players are envious and jealous of her because of the notoriety she gets, the attention she draws, the money she's making coming into the league, probably making $5 million a year when you count endorsements that she's making, and deservedly so. But I don't like what I'm seeing from CaitlinClark. She's changed her game. She's not the same CaitlinClark. Last night she had 7 points. That's not what 18,000 people are going to the game to see. They want to see the CaitlinClark we saw at Iowa. Come down off and transition and pull up from 30 feet.
Like okay, but wait, Mychal. But isn't that the coach's fault?
Exactly.
Okay.
They've turned her into a basic point guard. No, she'll take the occasional long 3-pointer, but I'm watching her play and say, man, this ain't the same Caitlin. She's looked pedestrian. And that's not why 16, 17, 18,000 people are there to see. They're there to see the Caitlin we saw at Iowa, who pulls up with no conscience, pulls up with no fear. And right now she looks like she's thinking too much. And I think the coach has neutered her and wants her to be more of a basic point guard. Yeah, you got to pass the ball occasionally. And she did that at Iowa. She had averaged 9 assists a game, so she did both. But she's not doing both anymore. Her game has changed, and I would tell her she has to figure out other ways to score. She always has to go left. If you notice her, to shoot a 3-point shot, she's got to figure out going to her right, which everybody's pushing her to her right hand now, not letting her go left because they know if she goes left, she wants to step back and shoot that 3. So she's being pushed to her right hand all the time. And she's got to figure out, get to the basket for some layups, or pull up and shoot a little, she's got to figure out how to shoot a little pull-up jumper going to her right, because they're taking away her left side because they don't want her to shoot threes. But even in transition, she's just got to pull up some time and take some of those 30-footers that fans want to see.
Yes. It reminds me of Pistol Pete. Pistol Pete used to come up and just start shooting those jumpers. But the thing is, because she can handle the ball, she still can get her shot off. But she needs a pick. That's all she needs for somebody out there, and be very unselfish. And they have to realize that what you said to me too is that she has got to score, be like that, and she'll make money for all the other players.
Yeah, right. Yeah. And for Team USA, USA basketball, not to put her on the Olympic team is mind-boggling. That's just pure jealousy and anti-Kate hate from the committee members who are the selection committee members, not to put her on that Team USA team. They keep saying that she has no international basketball experience. She's won 2 gold medals for Team USA, and the under 19 team, and another team that she played on. So she's been on international basketball competition before for Team USA. Just to put her on that team, they're gonna blow everybody out by 30 points. She's gonna she's gonna play 15. Everybody's gonna play no more than 20, 22 minutes because they don't have to. They're that good. And just her jersey sales alone would have made them millions upon millions of dollars. It's unbelievable how they understand marketing.
Lost opportunity.
Yeah. 82 when he was on Dream Team. He wasn't even in the league. They put him on the team because they realized his impact on basketball. Same thing with Larry Bird, who couldn't play anymore with a bad back, and they still put him on Dream Team 1 because they understood with their stature in the league and what it meant to have him on the team.
It's unbelievable. They don't realize that because of her, everybody else is being noticed. And it just doesn't make any sense to me. And regardless if they say, well, she's not playing that well, she still is a person that Michael, how many games have you watched before this year? How many games have you gone to and watched
Maybe
before this year?
2 WNBA games, and I like checking on the fourth quarter just to see what was going on. But here's the question too, guys. I think she'll continue to play well. Will they include her for All-Star Weekend? Will they put her on the All-Star
Oh,
game?
yes, for that, because that was in, but T.O and I were talking about this, Michael, and we want to know what you think about this. We have to give Steph Curry so much credit for going and playing against her in the on three, the shoot
against the WNBA.
yeah, the WNBA. How many other NBA players do you think will go out there and compete with the women for the 3-point shooting contest?
Well, they would.
I think they're scared. I think they would be scared.
No, because you can get outshot. One of the women, Caitlin or Sabrina Ionescu or somebody else could have a hot shooting day from 3 and beat you. It could happen. Your shot might be off. It's not like she's trying to guard you and stop you, or you stopping her. You're out there shooting by yourself. And girls like Sabrina and Caitlin can go around the horn and make 15 out of 20. They can do it. That's how they do their shooting drill. So why not be able to do it in a 3-point shooting contest?
And I think people would be, the All-Star Weekend has become a thing. It's not enjoyable to watch anymore.
Embarrassing to the league. They should just cancel the game altogether, and they should open up the dunk contest to guys around the country, the YouTube dunkers. Those are the dunkers. Those guys on YouTube, man, they do some dunks we don't see NBA players do.
I can't believe it. I mean, they're doing stuff. And not only that, you can especially have the girls going against the guys with the 3-point shooting, or maybe even the dribbling.
The different skills.
Yeah, the different skills competition.
Yeah.
That's going to bring. Yeah.
And I say to fix the All-Star game, to make the guys compete. And I don't want guys already committing flagrant fouls, but to fix the All-Star game and make them compete the way they used to back in your day, Kermit, when they actually played as if they played in a pickup game and they wanted to win. I say find a sponsor, find somebody, Amazon or somebody rich enough to say $1 million, winner take all to each member of the All-Star team. I bet you they'll play hard for that $1 million.
Heck yeah. We played hard for us in that All-Star game. They gave us, if you won, they gave you an envelope with $2,500.
Yeah.
Wow.
And if you lost, you got one for $1,500. They just gave you the cash. Now oh my goodness, people would play, but they make so much money now. It's a different.
But I don't care if you made $50 million a year, as some of these guys make. If you say you win this game, you make $1 million, or look how hard they play in the in-season tournament to win $5,000 each. They played hard in that in-season tournament for that $500.
That would be my career for 5 years almost, back when I first started. Yeah, Michael, I'm telling you.
That's how you fix the All-Star game, man. $1 million to each to the winners. $1 million.
Yeah, it's good too with the cross promotion. When they, take advantage of that, get more exposure for the WNBA. That's all positive. That's why it was frustrating when you see some of the opportunities seemingly get squandered. When a couple of years ago, Iguodala had tweeted, he was watching a WNBA game and he tweeted out like, "Wow, number 23 is nice." And I don't even remember who the lady was, but after the game, she saw it and said, "Next time, put some respect on my name." And it's just like, why would that be what you would lead with? Yeah. Or when Luka, they took a picture and they were running a promotion for the Dallas team. He's holding one of the Dallas, the women's jerseys. It said, "Hey, everybody come out to the game on Friday night," or whatever. And then he starts getting all these WNBA players that are like, "Well, when's the last time you came to a game?" And I'm just like, that is, like, how do you, first of all, technically he's kind of paying a little bit towards this money that's been subsidizing your league, first of all, because they could just as well just keep the money, and the league could split it with the NBA players.
We just saw a report, even with all this CaitlinClark infusion of enthusiasm and money, they're still going to lose $50 million this year.
Yeah.
How about that?
And that's the thing too, is that, a part of it, I think, is the airlines, now they're going to, they get the charter flights. So, $23 to $25 million, but they wouldn't have been willing to spend that money if they didn't see like, oh, this is going in the right direction, because of her. They said last year they were up 20% in the ratings, which is great, but this year it's 400%.
Yeah.
So it's like, you can't say that's a coincidence.
She's got to start scoring, or else people are going to start losing interest. People go, "What's the big deal? Scoring 7 points, 10 points?" No, that's not.
Right.
that was being hyped up to come into the league. So she got to get going. She had 30 points a couple of games ago. That's the CaitlinClark we need to see a consistent basis.
Yeah.
But don't you think the commissioners to say, hey, come here, coach, come here, owner. I want to talk to you. Yes,
Yeah.
to say, we're going to run plays for this young lady.
Hey,
You know, give her, she is the lifeblood of this league.
Yeah.
So double picks, everything like that. Get her the shots. Yes.
Yeah.
It's a huge opportunity they got to take advantage of.
Yep, that's right. They got to understand the business sense, man. You understand what's fueling the fire. And for some reason, the WNBA girls are so bitter towards her because she's getting all the attention and all the money. They can't see the benefits and the business for it through their jealousy and envy.
Yeah, Michael, people don't, T.O and I were talking, when I was in the league, when I first came in the league, the championship game came on at 11:30 at night and it was taped.
Right.
Delayed.
Well, you know, and that was another thing we were talking about too a couple of weeks ago. I don't know if you remember. Remember when Yao Ming came in to the league? He brought all that spotlight from China.
Yep.
And McGrady, after everybody over there got finished buying all the Yao jerseys, then all of a sudden he's in that spotlight, and they go, "Wow, this guy's even better." And they started buying a huge number of Tracy McGrady jerseys. That's the kind of thing when the spotlight's on, and part of it's on you. You got to take advantage of that. And I don't think a lot of these girls are not thinking that way. You know, it's like they perform when the bright lights are on. Yeah, maybe Caitlin's the show, but people look over and go, "Oh, she's good too."
Us men were in the same position as Kermit and I were in the same position with the WNBA players are facing now when Jordan came into the league, when Magic came in the league. Magic and Bird saved the league. You know, the league was take the lead.
Let's go back before that. Dr. J saved the league. Yeah. I mean, he came and then all of a sudden a Bird and Magic, and then they just took off. And then you had Mychal, and then just exploded. You know, and so it's just people don't understand. I don't think anybody was jealous. Maybe his teammates of Dr. J. Come on, he was bigger than life to me.
He's the man. Huh?
Yeah, and then you had Bird and Magic, but they were tremendous. I mean, tremendous for the game.
We understood who the stars were, just like when I was a Laker, or when I was even a Blazer, and Clyde Drexler was the man. You understand that's the guy. So if he's going to get preferential treatment, if Magic and Kareem got preferential treatment when I was a Laker, I understood because those are the franchise guys.
We knew that. Yeah, it's funny. Okay, but let's go over to Jerry West before we let you go, Michael. Jerry West was my teammate. I was the only one. I looked it up that I was his teammate, and I was coached by Jerry West. Wow. And people don't realize that his first year coaching, we had the best record in the NBA. That's his first year. And I don't know how long he listed, but I guarantee you his record as a head coach is probably a tremendous record. He just came to the point where he just said, Kermit, I don't want to do this anymore. He didn't say it to me, but he didn't want to coach anymore because he expected, you know what he said to me one time, Michael? He didn't understand why everybody wasn't as good as him.
Wow.
He was serious. I don't understand why people aren't as good as me. I want to say, hey, ain't nobody, how many people alive at that time was maybe Oscar Robinson? Yeah. That's the only one I can think of. Yeah. You know, and somebody asked me yesterday, Michael, I would say you got Mychal and Magic, but the next two best stars, in my opinion, is Jerry West and Oscar Robinson. Just look at their stats.
No. I mean, obviously, you're not crazy for mentioning those two, but are you forgetting somebody there, Kermit boy?
Who?
I don't know. Some guy named, what was Joe Bryant's son's name?
Kobe. You know what, though? Yeah, Kobe was really good. But Oscar, if you look at, he's won. Okay, because he won. But if you look at Oscar's stats, they're mind broke. I mean, they blow you out the water.
It was great, and so was Jerry. But if you're going to have, obviously, the all-time NBA backcourt, all-time would be Mychal and Magic. Yeah. Nobody's going to supplant those two. And then the second team, all-time NBA backcourt, would have to be Kobe, and then have a discussion who the other guard is. Okay. It could be Jerry, it could be Oscar, it could be Dwayne Wade, it could be Steph Curry.
No, I wouldn't put Dwayne Wade in with Jerry West and Oscar Robinson. I mean, as a winner, yes. But if you look at their stats, like Oscar almost averaged a triple-double for his career, Michael.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, of course. He was special until Russell Westbrook came along and made it look simple or made it look easy. But yeah, Oscar could be in the backcourt with Kobe as a second team all-time NBA guard, or Jerry West, of course. But You forgetting how great Dwayne Wade was too, boy. In this
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
he
But you know
both-
what? I tell people I was playing against Oscar. He never checked him, but he would be a 3 now because he
Yeah.
was 6'5", about 235, and he
No,
just Oscar Robinson.
6'5", that's nothing. Anthony Edwards is that big deal.
Or he would back people down. I mean, he was backing the guards down. But don't you think he could have played the 3 position in NBA, Mike?
Or the way they spread the court now, of course, 6'5", nobody posts up anymore. Of course, he could play the 3 position now. But Jerry West, getting back to him, obviously a great player, one of the greatest ever, but clearly and without a doubt, the greatest talent evaluator in team sports, regardless of sports, the greatest executive in all of team sports, regardless of sport.
Yeah, yeah. And then the combination of being such a high level player and that there's nobody else.
Oh no,
He's one of one by far.
He's the only one. The only because Pat Riley is a great executive, but he was nowhere the player that
right.
No, he was my teammate too.
That's right.
Pat Riley. And it was funny about Pat Riley. We would call ourselves, because he was with me when I was on the bench warmer the first couple of years. We called ourselves F Troop. We only got any game if we were winning by 20 or losing by 20. But you know what, Pat? And Pat had never coached at any level, and he was up there with Chick Hearn as just a color guy.
Yeah,
but see, now people get mad at me, Michael, but what I said, coaches remind me, if you have secretariat for a horse, you could have put 50 jockeys on that horse and won the Triple Crown.
Well, no, that's unfair to the coaches because how come Doug Collins couldn't win with Jordan in Chicago and Phil Jackson did? So you got to still have a good conductor in front of that orchestra, or a good jockey. You still got to have a good jockey to know when to let the horse run.
But at first, they didn't have the kind of talent. But see, when you have a horse, okay, let's talk with the Lakers now, Michael. That team was, they would have 3 or 4 guys that there were no more players picked in the entire draft. Come on, Michael. That was tremendous.
Lost to the Celtics. They didn't win every year, as great as they were. You still got to have because you have, like you said, you got a team full of great players. They have so many big egos. You got to know how to manage it. The way Chuck Daly managed the Detroit Pistons with all those big, strong egos and all those guys thinking that they're all that tough guys. But Chuck Daly knew how to manage those personalities. So you got to still know how to fly the plane when you have the best engines and the best fuselage and everything.
Don't you give credit to Isaiah and to Magic though as great leaders,
And as a coach, you have to know how to tap into that and suppress your ego a little bit and let those guys take over, maybe sometimes take over a huddle and take their suggestions. And a confident leader, smart leader like a Pat Riley or Phil Jackson, let Michael Jordan lead sometimes, or let Kobe lead. So that you got to understand how to manage people. You just can't put anybody out there and say, okay, go play. Greg Popovich, with all his great players, he knew how to motivate those guys and keep them even keel to win 5 championships.
Yeah, but now he's got the worst teams in the league. So what does that do? Does that diminish any of his accolades that he had when they were winning championships, Michael?
No, I don't think so. I think obviously he's been struggling. He hasn't had the same talent that he had with the Hall of Famers that he had, of course. But he looks like he's on the right track to put things back together, starting with Victor Wembanyama. As long as they keep that young boy healthy, they're going to be special in the coming years.
Okay. Well, Michael, first of all, I want to thank you so much for coming on and all the information you give us, because we know that you're opinionated, so we're going to get a good quote out of you. So, hey, tell Julie that it's okay she didn't come on, but we appreciate her, and I appreciate you, Michael. So thank you very much.
You bet, guys. Talk to you later.
Take care. Thank you very much.